Hello Power Rangers Lightning Collection fans, and welcome back to Lightning Storm. This is the series where lightning always strikes twice as we talk about everything that has happened in the past week for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. And while this has definitely been the lightest week we've had in the last month or so, nothing as crazy as PulseCon or any of that kind of stuff. There's no leaks to talk about or anything like that. But we do have a good amount of figures releasing in different countries, a couple little tidbits to talk about, and then I wanted to kind of go over a little kind of brief overall summary recap of the different Hasbro Pulse team interviews that have been going out to different influencers and such that have been posted this past week. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. So I wanted to go ahead and kick it off this week with new releases in the US. So we actually had a pretty good amount of figures come out this past week in the US, or become at least more readily available in the US at different stores and different figures and such like that. First of all is A-Squad Yellow. So we had talked about last week that A-Squad Yellow is in stock or was in stock or whatever at Big Bad Toy Store. And about a month ago it was in stock at Dorkside Toys and such like that. But now they are starting to pop up at GameStop stores. So this is a fan channel exclusive figure, which means it is primarily an online exclusive, but GameStop is known to get fan channel exclusives as well. So you should be able to get the entirety of the A-Squad team in some format at GameStop, except for green, since that is a Best Buy exclusive. But since pink is exclusive there, and blue is in a retail release, and red and yellow are fan channels, you could theoretically find 4 of the 5 members at a GameStop store. But GameStop so far only seems to be getting yellow in. I'm sure they're going to get red in, and of course their own Pink Ranger one in at some point. But if you want to go ahead and try to find one in person, you can do that. You can also go to Targets right now, and we had talked about Versus Packs Wave 2 popping up at different Targets, but now Wave 10 is popping up at different Targets, which I did include very briefly in the middle of last week's episode because that news dropped in the middle of me editing it. But it's starting to become at least a little bit more common, people finding the whole wave. It's still not super common, but I've seen at least a couple reports of that. I've seen some weird reports of Wave 3 being restocked at different different Targets, and that's in the wrong direction. They should be going forward, not back. But Wave 3 is one of the most rare waves at this point, with an NPR Red and Lord Draken, so you might get lucky if you missed out on those 2 figures. You probably didn't miss out on Beast Morphers Blue. Everywhere had him for like $5 in the end. So, but if you're trying to get those 2 figures, maybe you could check your Targets for a Wave 3 restock, or you could go there and check for what people actually want, and that is Wave 10. So the whole wave, like I said, has been found at Targets, and that it includes In Space Pink that we saw last week at that random comic shop in Illinois, which, speaking of, we did get Pudgy Pig at that same comic shop, and while it went up very briefly on Amazon last Friday, it hasn't really gone back up since then. But if you did order that, if you were able to get it in that small window of time, you were put under like a estimated delivery date coming soon kind of thing. And at least my order and a couple other people's orders did update to finally give a date of like the end of November to like mid-December. So we might start seeing it ship out from Amazon around that time frame, but I'll, of course, keep tabs on that and such like that. That's pretty much all the releases for the US this past week. But of course, Singapore, back at it again, and the UK actually had some releases. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the UK, and then we'll talk about what Singapore had. So the UK actually had some releases this past week, both from Hasbro Pulse. Not only did they actually get actual shipments and people actually started receiving the PulseCon version, lunchbox version of Pudgy Pig, which we did see release in Australia last week, but now people in the UK are getting it. So still no word if it's going to ship earlier than April in the US. I hope that it does. I think that it might, especially if the UK is getting it here already. But if you did not cancel that one once you found out about the retail one, maybe you'll get that soon, at least in the UK. Because not only do they ship pre-orders, it's actually just in stock on Hasbro Pulse UK right now if you want to order that. So I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Obviously it doesn't ship to the US or anything like that, but if you're in the UK and you want the PulseCon one, go for it, I guess. What you can't go for is In Space Silver. So of course, wouldn't be a Lightning Storm episode in the end of 2021 if we didn't talk about In Space Silver 100 more times. Because, it did start arriving for a lot of people from Pulse this past week, Pulse US, which, it was still only up there for like 45 minutes back then. But it did actually go up on Hasbro Pulse UK with no announcement whatsoever yesterday. And while it lasted longer than the 45-minute window over here in the US, It still did not last very long. It was down within a couple of hours. But people's already started to ship from there. So, hey, at least Pulse UK, I wouldn't say they did it right, because there still wasn't any announcement about it, but at least they limited it to 3 per person, so you couldn't go and buy 10 of them or 5 of them or whatever you were able to do here, because there was no limit on Zane over here in the US, which is part of the reason why it was such a pain in the ass for people to get it a couple weeks ago. But hey, you missed your window already there, you missed your window already in the UK, and no, I still don't know when it's going to be on Walgreens shelves. People are going to keep asking me in the description or in the comments of this video and on Twitter, but I don't know what to tell you. Don't know. So the second I find out when or if he shows up in a Walgreens, I'll let you know. But there was another random story of the yet to be announced in space silver figure. Moving on over to Singapore with figures that got announced a long time ago and had not been released until now. The metallic armors. So remember these things they showed off on the April 9th Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest event? Well, they do exist after all. The Singapore store, Robo, which was the first place to get some of the A Squad members back in September and October, has been the first place to finally post in actual hand photos of the metallic armors. And Wave 10. They got Wave 10 as well, so, keeping it current there. It's Wave 10 is still brand new, pretty much in current. That's old news at this point. Look at this pretty metallic armors over there. So I think they turned out really nicely. Of course, people are already complaining about the buckles and the coins on the power morphers and such. People are complaining about the MMPR black helmet, which actually looks accurate to the show without that trim. I know that's probably going to bother some people, but yes, it does not have a visor trim. And if you didn't notice it before, I'm sorry if I pointed it out now. But yeah, the metallic armors are out there. I haven't really seen a lot of people buy them yet. But I've seen a couple in-hand photos. I'm sure we're going to see more and more. Right now, they're still currently slated for a December 1st release over here in the US on Pulse. They were supposed to be a November 1st release before that got pushed. So hopefully we'll still see them here by the end of the year, because I would like to get those, and I'd like to finally see what they look like when you pose them all with pink. Yes, we're still missing white. They haven't announced a White Ranger for this line yet, but hopefully soon, because I'd like to finish this team, because I think these look good. I do like the metallic armors, and I'm looking forward to getting them. And at least here, we do get to see that, yes, the visor trim on red is present here, and the helmet looks great. If we could somehow get this for the regular MMPR red figure, I love that. I'm sure we'll get that someday. But yeah, the metallics are out, and I'm sure we'll start seeing more in-hand photos over the next couple of days or weeks. Alright, now we just have some general Power Rangers Lightning Collection stuff to talk about here, or Hasbro stuff really. And that is, Hasbro is making a return, or actually kind of a first appearance at New York Toy Fair 2022. So it has been confirmed that New York Toy Fair 2022, which as far as I'm aware is being held in person this time, will actually have Hasbro in attendance. Now, yes, Hasbro has participated in Toy Fair in the past, but they've had their own little side event close to the actual convention. But this time it looks like they're going to actually be at the actual convention. This is going to take place on the weekend of February 18th through the 20th of 2022. And while Power Rangers is not specifically mentioned in this report or anything like that, it's a pretty safe assumption that the Power Rangers team and of course the Lightning Collection will be present there. The Lightning Collection has had a presence at every Toy Fair in the past. Obviously, Toy Fair got canceled in 2021. But in 2019, it was the place we got the first full Wave 1 and part of Wave 2 reveal, and in 2020 is where we got the Wave 5 reveal. And as of right now, I would have to guess is probably our best place to get the Wave 12 reveal. I don't think we'll get a Wave 12 reveal prior to that, especially if they are going to be part of Toy Fair this time around, and that's going to be a tricky situation. I'll get into that later on, but I have pretty big plans for school that weekend, and I'm not going to be able to react to Toy Fair. So that's going to be a problem. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll figure out what to do. But for now, Hasbro is going to be attending Toy Fair that is currently scheduled for that weekend, and we'll see what happens when we get closer. Alright, well, I wanted to end this week's episode with going over some of the points and what I thought were some of the more interesting details that came out of the different Hasbro Power Ranger team interviews that happened with different influencers and YouTubers and news sites and stuff this past week. I know there's going to be more of these coming. I know specifically like Eric over at Ranger Command Power Hour is releasing theirs, I believe, today. So that one won't be able to be included in here. But we do have some already out there from like Hassan 120. We have one from RangerLiz. We have one from ProRanger.com/TokuNation. Thanks to TokuChris over there. And these were really good. These are all really good interviews. And of course, I don't want to take away from them or anything like that. So please be sure to check them out in their entireties. They're all about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes long. That's the amount of time that they were given by the Hasbro team to talk to them. So all 3 of them will be linked in the description below. So please be sure to check them out. But there were some really interesting points from these guys. So they all got to interview both Johns, John Warden and John Firestone from the Power Rangers team. You guys know these guys from different Fan First Fridays. They were both available or part of PulseCon and stuff like that. And, all they were allowed to ask were questions in relation to the PulseCon reveals. So Wave 11, Deluxe Wave 1, Lord Zed helmet, stuff like that. And we got some pretty interesting answers for them on a couple of these different points. So I'm going to go ahead and refer to my notes here and see what we got on some of them. A lot of questions came about Wild Force Silver or the Lunar Wolf Ranger from Wave 11. Specifically about the things like, why does he have 5 stripes on his chest when he should have 6? Or why he has white boots instead of the silver boots and him missing the holster and stuff. Those were points specifically brought up by TokuChris and other people. And they did mention the fact that they're always listening to what the fans have to say about things like that, trying to make the figures as accurate as possible. And I will quote, John Warden did say that those are something that they will be able to take care of before the final release. Now, when he did say that, he did say take care of in relation to the stripes and to the boots. He did not say that about the holster. So I don't know or I don't think that the holster will be able to be fixed, but it sounds like they might be trying to fix the stripes and the boots before the final release. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. Now, of course, other Wave 11 questions happened with like the Zeo Cog, for example. People were wondering why the chest was different on this one to not have that kind of sparkly pattern and why it was kind of that semi-translucent and such. People had speculated, was that supposed to be like trying to have an emulation of the effect when the Rangers shock them and you kind of see through them and stuff like that, and they did say that that was the case. They did not bring that up during the PulseCon stream, but they did say that that was an intentional choice to make the figure stand out from its two-pack counterpart. So that way, if you were troop building them, or if you got both of them, if you're a Lightning Collection completionist, you'd have at least some different version of the Zeo Cog to go with the ones from the 2-pack. And I think that's pretty cool. Speaking of correcting things and all that stuff, this kind of goes back to the whole images are not always the final representation of the products. They were talking about how they did catch the detail of the X being on the Galaxy Glider instead of the Mega Ranger V symbol, and they did seem to indicate that that was going to be fixed in some capacity. At least they did say that they noticed that it was wrong. So hopefully that is fixed by the time that that comes out. We still don't necessarily know when Deluxe Waves 1 is going to actually release, but one answer that I thought was really interesting, because I hadn't really considered it, was asked about why was TJ coming out in this Galaxy Glider release so soon after the Versus Pack release. And while they said that it wasn't necessarily their intention to like have the 2 releases kind of on top of each other like that, that just kind of happened with the different shipping delays and all the logistical nightmares with that. They talked about how they wanted to give fans an opportunity to get TJ outside of the Versus Packs at a lower cost. So that way, if you still wanted to complete your in-space team, if you didn't really care about Psycho Silver, and you wanted to be able to get him without having to spend the extra money to get 2 figures, this was a way to do it. Now, yes, you're only saving like $10 by not getting Psycho Silver, and in my opinion, I think that's a better figure, a better pack-in with TJ than a Galaxy Glider, where you can't have the rest of the team have yet. But I do see the rationale behind it, and I think that it is an interesting idea. I just think that the 2 releases being announced and being released so close to each other is going to hurt the sales of one of them. I think probably the Versus Pack. Longer down the line, I think it will hurt that one more than the Galaxy Glider one. But I'm hoping it doesn't hurt the Galaxy Glider one, because I don't want that to hurt the sales of Deluxe Wave 1 and impact the future waves of that. We need that first wave of Deluxes to sell well. But it was, at least I can see where they were coming from on that point. And then finally, kind of one of the main points I wanted to bring up was that they mentioned this during these interviews at a couple of different and multiple different times, that the Zed helmet not only has that sound voice changer inside, it actually has electronics in it. It has a actual sounds like from the show. It has a turn-on activation sound of like Zed laughing and like an electricity sound, and it has different phrases from Zed from the show apparently, which is like something I had no idea about. I thought this was just a plastic helmet with the squishy brain and everything, and just had some kind of voice changer feature. I had no idea that it actually had actual electronics and sound effects in it. that makes it even cooler. So I wish they would have said something like that during the live stream. That's kind of just the general opinion on PulseCon at this point. Besides like all the NFT controversy and stuff, going forward, it's just kind of, thinking about PulseCon and reminiscing about it. It was like, why didn't they go into detail about some of these things? Thankfully, we have these interviews to do so, and it's really great to hear, the passionate fans get to talk to these guys, and you can really see the passion that they do have. They know their stuff. Also, it's really entertaining to watch John Warden play around with a Phantom Ranger figure. He loves that one. And I love it too. You guys nailed it on that one. Yeah, please check out these interviews. Check out all the other ones that are going to be coming out. Like I said, I know Ranger Command Power Hour is going to be having one. I know other sites. I know the Illuminati was invited to do an interview because I wrote the questions for them. So I know that there's other outlets and stuff that are going to be posting their own versions of these interviews. The questions did have to be pre-approved beforehand and only were allowed to be asked about these products from PulseCon. So you're probably going to get a lot of the same answers, but every interview has some kind of unique aspects to it that I highly recommend you watching. So like I said, they will all be linked in the description below, and I will continue to update that with more a revealed or released or whatever, and I might talk about some more of them in detail if more of them come out. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for this week's episode of Lightning Storm. And that's it. Thank you all for watching. Of course, until next time, you can follow me on Twitter at DeliverRangerKey or at LightningFigPR. And I'll see you all in Lightning Storm, the series where lightning always strikes twice.